People who got caught cheating. What was going on when you were caught and what was the reaction of your significant other? NSW. Got cheated on. Caught her in the act. Told her to GTFO. She wanted 2k alimony in the only 6-month divorce. It was denied. She had been cheating on me the entire marriage and before with multiple guys. 2 of them wrote statements for my attorney that helped get the alimony struck from the divorce. Not going to retell the story. If you are really curious, it's one of my top rated comments under my Reddit name here. I got really drunk and wound up kissing an ex at a concert. My boyfriend went through my phone, not a K, but it's hard to blame him when he was right, and saw me talking about how bad I felt about it. I was in the shower and he ripped open the shower curtain and yelled at me. We had just moved in together, and it sucked having to try and work with him and fix my mistake, and having to look for a new apartment in case we couldn't. The hurt I caused wasn't worth the stupid drunk butterflies. Don't cheat, boys and girls. At least it sounds like you had the right attitude about it. I've been in the same situation, but the girl acted like me looking through the phone was a bigger offense than what I found in it, and refused to admit any wrongdoing. Extremely frustrating to deal with. Drunkenly cheated on my ex-GF a few times. Had fricked one random girl while visiting another college. Kissed a few other girls over a span of 2.5 years. She never found out. We ended up breaking up because the relationship became long distance after college, and then I lost interest in putting in any effort. I felt pretty bad about it all throughout the whole relationship, and even now. But the part that really made me feel bad was after we broke up, when she would say she wished she had a reason to hate me to make the end of the relationship make more sense. I didn't want her to hate me, so I never told her. We haven't spoken in several months, but I think about her from time to time. Props for being one of the few people here to actually admit to cheating. Probably made the right choice not ever telling her. Saved her a world of hurt. I was in California for 3 months getting everything organized to relocate. My plan was to eventually move my so and her 3 kids to California once everything was settled. I began seeing Facebook posts on her wall all from the same dude. Then selfies of them together started getting posted. Friends contacted me and tried to tell me what was obviously going on. I grew suspicious, but I loved her and wanted to believe her lies when I asked her about it. The signs grew all too blatant, and I had to know she was cheating. I needed to return to Ohio to get all my stuff, so I decided it was time to go back and find out for sure. I made a 1-2-day cross-country trip all without telling her. When I finally made it back, it was late and there was an unknown car parked in the driveway. The license plate had a sheriff logo on it. The dude I suspected she was cheating with was a sheriff. While looking at her car and the suspected sheriff's car in her driveway, I called her and confirmed she was at home, by herself, and ready to go to bed. At this point I was absolutely sure what was going on. The next morning, I go to her house, and both cars are still in her driveway. I walk up to the door with authority, knock on the door. She comes out in PJs and has a holy freaking crap look on her face. Before she says anything, I give her a list of my belongings that I want immediately. Her kids hear my voice and come running to greet me. There is an additional kid, the sheriff's I presumed, as well. She immediately tries to say something along the lines of "it's not what it looks like," but I ignored and continued my straight-faced command for the return of my belongings. After some time of pleas from her and my stubbornness to my demands, she leaves the room to get my stuff. At no point during this whole ordeal did the sheriff come out to face me man to man, and instead cowardly hid in her bedroom. While she is gathering my stuff, I take a knee and get face to face with each of her kids, all girls, and give them my final words of advice and encouragement as their father figure. She returns with all my belongings. I say goodbye, I hope you have a nice life, and turn around and leave. Saying goodbye to 3 kids, man, that is gut-wrenching. I never cheated, but I've been cheated on. She did it with a lot of dudes while we were together. The weird thing is she didn't had them at the same time. It was always one after another. So basically every now and then I peeked off her phone, and every now and then she basically had really annoying conversation with a dude. Like "I miss you so much." Sometimes 9 pages long text of really romantic stuff. And every time I confronted her, and every time I forgave her, and every time she promised me not to do it again, and every time she would, then I said "frick it, I'm out." Yeah, I was an idiot. But hey, I was in love. My most recent girlfriend cheated on me with one of my best friends. She was a very terrible liar. So much so that I can pinpoint almost to the day when it began. It only took about 2 weeks from that point for things to spiral out of control and end. The worst part was how I confronted her about it multiple times as it was happening. And not only did she deny it, she suggested that I might be mentally ill. My biological father is paranoid schizophrenic. He and I worked together, and I would see her drop him off from his lunch breaks in the parking lot. On my 25th birthday, got blackout drunk right and started to text him as she sat in my lap, telling him how much she loved him. I confronted her about that the next day, and at first told me that I had hallucinated the whole ordeal, but after I insisted on seeing the text, claimed that she had meant to send that text to me. Yeah, right. Things went pretty crappy after that. I lost my best friend, deleted my Facebook, kind of withdrew from my old social circles. It sucked. But after moving to another state, I've managed to feel a whole heck of a lot better, and I can see things for what they really were. Best part is, last month she texted me out of the blue from a new number, telling me that she doesn't know what she was thinking and that she did it because she was afraid of being happy. I can honestly say, I have never felt anything more satisfying than the moment where I deleted that text and the number without even a reply. Good for you, man. Stuff like that is hard. Glad you learned from it and didn't let it break you. She walked in and didn't actually react at first. After about a minute of just watching me go at it, she picked up the other controller and we played co-op. Myso and myself got married at a fairly young age, 20 and 21. In the first year of our marriage we had an extremely active love life. At least once a day, and that was the minimum. Looking back at it, I am not too sure that we were actually in love with each other or in love with the fricking. It was right after Christmas in our second year that the problems started. I was in school and working full time, so some days I didn't get home till late and she was already asleep. Now my wife always had more guy friends than girlfriends, so I did my best not to get jealous or anything, and I did trust her. But the thought was always in the back of my mind, especially since she was friends with an ex-boyfriend and her ex. Flink thing. Fast forward back to me at my job. I met a girl, we'll call her Joanna. She was Polish English as a second language, and well, I was extremely attracted to her. Perfect body, beautiful eyes, crystal blue, and overall outgoing. We clicked. I started skipping school on nights to go out to the bar with her, movies and things like that. I always told myself in my head that I had a wife, but the lack of fricking, jealousy and how stale our marriage got led me to keep coming back to Joanna. It didn't take long before we started fricking, almost every other day. She was turned on by the fact that she was fricking a married man, and I was turned on for obvious reasons. I knew my marriage was going to end eventually when I started fricking Joanna unprotected. Dumb decision in hindsight, but she was seriously the hottest girl I slept with. Fast forward a few months. Well, my ex-wife had been looking through my phone at night because she got a call from one of my professors about how many days I had missed in his class. She made up a fake outing with her girlfriends on one of my days off and said I won't be home till late, so behave alright. To me that was easily invite Joanna over and bang her brains out before I get home. Well, I did just that. Except right as I came, literally at that moment, my wife came in the bedroom, started beating the crap out of Joanna, who ran out to her car and then started hitting me and yelling. It was ugly. Divorce came soon after and we haven't talked in a couple years. She has a steady boyfriend and I since left my old job and started anew. To eliminate confusion, I'm a lesbian. My so of 2 years at the time had started volunteering with me at the week-long summer camp I go to every year. We were living together for a year at this point. My so and I communicated well before camp about the likelihood of us developing crushes on other people at dreamy places like camp. So we agreed that it would be okay to cuddle with other people. Last summer there was another girl volunteering there that we both had the hots for. Let's call her Jane. My so had to leave camp a day early, and all the campers left that day too while the volunteers cleaned and got ready for the next session. We call this night layover. All the staff get to hang out and clean and go swimming and enjoy the camp like the kids do. I went to the beach with Jean and a couple other volunteers and spent some quality time with them. Came back to the campsite, spent the night on the swim dock under the stars with Jean and the other volunteers. We had been eye-freaking each other all day because she's the prettiest, most gorgeous person ever, and I couldn't help it when she looked at me like that with her blue eyes. We lied next to each other on the dock and ended up touching and cuddling. She asked me what my relationship rules were and I told her I was allowed to cuddle other people, as she let me kiss her hand, and she brought her hand back up to her own lips. This thought popped up in my head about how stupid it seemed that I could touch her with my hands, and I could kiss her on her hand, but I couldn't kiss her on her mouth. So I kissed her. I went home and told the so, and she hit me on my face which broke my glasses, pushed me down on the floor while I sat there blind, and she yelled at me. I would have fought back, but I didn't want to hurt her since I still loved her at the time. That, and she's a Marine, so I was assuming I'd get hit worse if I fought back. I packed a backpack of my stuff and spent the next month couch surfing at different friends' places. Eventually I found a 2-bedroom with a friend from my old high school frisbee team. Jane and I are now together, going strong for 8 months. TLDR. I kissed someone else and my so hit me, so I moved out. I was so sure this was going to end in Jane being a Loch Ness monster. Gay husband story time. A couple years back, I came home from work and was too lazy to go get my laptop from my car, so I grabbed my husband's. He had told me the login passcode to it several times. I went to sign into my email account and it automatically signed into his, one I'd never seen before. Next came the 2 hours I spent in horror reading through his secret email account where for years he had been hooking up with men through Craigslist ads, posts on gay hookup sites, like pictures of him with huge dongs in his mouth, and dozens of conversations between him and guys he'd met. Head over to the house, met behind bars and alleyways. Crap like I'll come over and suck you off on Saturday at 2, but I'll have to leave early to go pick my wife up from the airport. Because of all of the above, my attorney nicknamed him Dumpster Dong. I copied all his messages for an attorney, filed for a retaining order, filed for divorce, packed a bag and noped out of there, and never saw him again. He claimed he was straight in court and wanted 100% of our mutual assets. Yes, no surprise he was a district attorney and a sleazy lawyer. Since the state we live in has a no full divorce clause, I gave up trying to fight him when my legal fees reached over $20k trying to get a 50/50 settlement. Gave him everything and just walked away. Her dumpster dong moved to another city and married a 22-year-old girl a year later. TLDR. Accidentally discovered my husband was gay and had been having affairs with dozens of dudes he met online and shared dong pics with the whole time we were married. I read the first half of this assuming you were a gay couple. It started to make less and less sense, lol. I can vouch for the whole cheaters suspect their partner is cheating. I was dating this crazy chick in high school who thought I was cheating if I said hi to anybody. Anyways, long story short, during a trip to Washington DC she hooked up with her ex-boyfriend. When they got back they went to the movies. This is when her mom sends me pictures of her daughter with another dude to me. Best mom ever. Oh, then invited my girlfriend over and accidentally had the pictures on my TV. 55 inches of justice. In high school, person I cheated with calls her. She confronts me. I proceed to lie like it was my job. Didn't work, but she decides to stay with me and cheat on me for the next few years. Fun times. On the radio this morning in Colorado Springs, a woman was playing a prank on the man who just proposed to her and did that. You've won a free sensual couples massage radio call. She was going out of town this weekend and told the radio guys to make it only available this weekend. Without hesitation, the fiancé said another woman's name to join him. Chaos ensued. He was so in shock he couldn't make coherent sentences and started crying. She was livid. About 2 years ago I cheated on my so. I didn't so much get caught cheating, but I did tell him and as a result witnessed his reaction. He was completely wrecked as can be expected, but he actually stayed at my house that night. Probably due to me sobbing uncontrollably, and he didn't want to leave me all alone. The next day after I had calmed down I realized how unfair it was for me to be upset as I was the villain in this situation. I told him that I was beyond sorry and that I would answer any questions he wanted answered with as much detail as he wanted. We talked for a while and I answered his questions as best as I could, including why I did it. I told him that I was an idiot and I had no excuses for my behavior and that I completely understood if he wanted to leave me, as had the situations been reversed, I probably would have left him. To give the shorter version of the story, he didn't leave me. He decided that I made a rather awful mistake, but he knew I was sorry and wanted to see if we could work it out. So it is now 2 years later and it's been hard work for both of us. He has had to learn to trust me again while I'm battling with well-deserved self-confidence issues. It's really hard to forget that you're the lowest of the low kind of scum. Despite all this, I couldn't imagine my life without him, and it sucks that it took such a massive mistake for me to see that. He is the best person in the world and way too good for me. I know that Reddit has a strong once a cheater always a cheater kind of opinion, but I feel, though obviously I am biased, that sometimes people make really terrible mistakes, and I am so thankful that my wonderful so shares this opinion. I cheated on a German test. I had my vocab sheet right under my test so I can copy down my answers. My teacher came along and swiped my papers, and going through my head I was thinking, oh frick, why am I doing this? This is so stupid. I'm gonna get in so much trouble. But it was more of a guilt trip for me, because my teacher knew I cheated, but I still got a 100%. I felt guilty and never mentioned it to my parents. Nobody really knows but me and my teacher. Frick, that was the wrong kind of cheating. Well, I've never cheated, but I have been cheated on. My ex was dating one of my friends behind my back. My other friends told me about them, not knowing that she and I were in a relationship already. I went to go talk to her during my lunch hour, and pretty much walked in on them sucking face. It hurts pretty bad, considering that I'm still pretty young. She caught me cheating with our next door neighbor. My so walked in on us in the bathroom floor, butt naked. I totally forgot that the week before, I had given her the spare key to my apartment. It was awful. The whole time she stood there, she didn't take her eyes off of me. Not a cheater, but was cheated on. I had a feeling she was cheating, but she would lie when I would ask her. Until one day I got on my computer and she had used it and left her Facebook logged in. I read her messages that her and a co-worker had going, and it summed up my fears. She was with the guy at the time of me finding out. I changed her Facebook status to so my ex-boyfriend just found out I'd been cheating on him. Oops. Cheated a few times, got caught once or twice. The ones where I didn't get caught haunt me, and it keeps me from being as close to someone that I now care about. I don't trust myself, and because of that, have hard time trusting others. It really is a crappy thing to do and ultimately ruins yourself and sometimes others, depending on how they felt about you. Backstory: I went to a big party school in the south. My ex went to a small private university near our suburban city. Freshman year, I come home 2 weeks into school to celebrate my best friend's birthday. She was going and I was definitely excited to see her most of all. We had been fighting since the day I left because she was worried about me cheating on her at this school so far away. Every night I was out she seemed to be upset with me. Little did she know, I guess, when I told her I loved her I really meant it more than anything. I could never cheat on her. Fast forward to my friend's party. She walks in as beautiful as ever. I thought I was in a dream. I missed her so much. The party is a huge hit, we are all hammered. She is the drunkest one there. She weighed like 98 pounds and has no tolerance for alcohol. She gets sick, begins to vomit, etc. I carry her upstairs to my friend's guest room where I sit at the foot of the bed just watching her all night to make sure she is okay. Her phone rings 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different times, so I peer over at it. It's a text from her sister Cassidy saying, "Are you okay? I will call an ambulance if you need one. I'm worried." I'm not one to pry through someone's personal life, but I didn't want her sister freaking out, so I replied, "Hey Cassidy, I am intoxicated. Ex-girlfriend is fine, I'm here taking care of her." I watched the message send and I see she has several texts from this kid Jake. Now, we went to high school with Jake and she knows I don't like him. They had a brief fling before we ever dated and I didn't like that they were still friends. She made sure to avoid him to always keep me happy. Drunk and stupid, I began to read the texts. Jake, when are you going to be my girlfriend? X, or once I'm single, should be soon. Jake, what about I am intoxicated? X, he's gained weight and is probably cheating on me anyways. I gained 5 freaking pounds. I was 6'1", 180. I wasn't a fat butt or anything and I could never cheat on her. Jake, I can make you feel better. X, we'll see about that this week, won't we? I'm in shock. I loved her more than anything. Next morning she wakes up, I'm still at the foot of the bed. I confront her. She cries. Asked me to take her back. I have too much self-respect. Done. Well, mine is about being cheated on, but it requires a little setup. 18 years old, with my first girlfriend who I'd been with for about 9 months at the time. Thought it was love. You know, typical teen crap. So one week during college I got the chicken pox for the first time in my life and spent 2 weeks in my house, not leaving my bedroom besides having frequent baths and the usual poopy routine. She messaged me on Skype once during the time, and to be honest, I was fine with that because usually when she messaged me she would do so incessantly until I finally alt-tabbed out of whatever game I was playing to reply. So the second week was the week before Valentine's Day, and the college we both attended was still having classes. Hers being a performing arts course, I was used to her having to stay late for rehearsals. So Valentine's Day rolled around, and as we were cuddling listening to some music, since she felt bad for not being there and what I presume now a few other things, she let me put on 10,000 Days by Tool, which should have been a warning sign. She hated Tool but still was happy enough just to keep me happy. As the night progressed, we just lay there talking about everything, and at one point she decided to admit that she had been using the 2 weeks I was off to cheat on me with one of her classmates after her lessons. I decided to try and forgive her, which lasted all of 3 days. So in 3 days time I texted her to say it was over, and she rang me crying. The next 2 weeks anytime she saw me, she burst into tears, not doing a great job at hiding her emotions. To top it off, the guy she cheated with, she had lied to and said that I had said it was okay, that I wanted to try an open relationship. Now, she basically latched onto him and placed all her hopes on getting together with him. One day in the library as I was doing some coursework, he asked why we had broke up, to which I told him the reasons for it, and he subsequently got angry with her, blocked her from all forms of communication, told her to leave him the heck alone, and left her emotionally destroyed. Then the guy bought me a bottle of Bushmills whiskey, the one in the box that comes with the glass. I forgave him. He was suckered just like me. Now me and him get on quite well, which we never did before, and she went through some clinical depression for all that she'd brought on herself. Was incessantly bullied at college for doing that to Mark, and I think she even self-harmed for a while if her wrists were anything to go by. I imagine if she could tell you if it was worth it, she'd say heck no to that. Plus side, I got a bottle of whiskey and the guy does pretty dang good vocals, so we've jammed on a couple of occasions. I expected you to take a walk to the other side of the road with this dude, and happily stay there. I cheated on her so when I was young and stupid. It was a random drunken college hookup, and so didn't find out about it until many months later, when she found out she had a good laugh and a rainbow shot out of her butt. What do you think her reaction would be? She was devastated. It was a crappy thing to do. If I had been a mature person at that point in my life, I would have broken up with her long before the cheating happened. I learned from it though. If I am at a place where I want to be sleeping with other women, then I don't need to be in a relationship. Pretty simple really. I didn't exactly get caught, and it's not traditional cheating. About a year ago I was feeling really rejected by my boyfriend on top of suffering from severe depression for a long time. I have a very high libido and he has a low one, and I remember what hurt the most was him basically slapping my hand away from his dong. There were more instances like this, but this one hurt the most and I'll never forget it. I ended up posting on Gone Wild multiple times, getting to the front page every time. This boosted my self-esteem so much, dangerously so. I got in the mind state of thousands of random people think I'm hot, why don't you? Which eventually made my self-esteem worse, thinking there was something wrong with my face or personality and that's why he didn't want me. As you can imagine, I got tons of PMs from dudes, and there were a couple I sent obscene messages and would send pics back and forth with. There were also a couple girls, one in particular lasted the longest and was what I consider the harshest cheating. We could talk all the time about my relationship, her relationships, and freaking sending pics back and forth saying what we would do to each other, etc. Ended up seeing a therapist who said I was a frick addict. Did some treatment for that for roughly 6 months before I realized I am not a frick addict, though some of the things she said were true. I am doing much better now, no longer severely depressed. I told him everything and we are still together, and I haven't posted any types of pictures of myself on the internet for 8 months and haven't talked to her, though I think of her from time to time. We are doing really well though. Still have issues that we are working on, but we communicate better now, and though my advances get rejected from time to time, it's not in such a harsh, devastating way. Never been caught cheating. Since I've never cheated, but one of my exes cheated on me. Solution was simple: block her phone number and never speak to her again. Haven't heard from her since. Don't care if I ever do. Plenty of fish in the sea for me. Heck, maybe even a lobster or two. Not that I cheated on anyone, but I was a person who someone cheated on their boyfriend with. Bear in mind I had no idea at the time, was out in town, was fresh as week and the drinks were flowing. Got talking to this decent lass who I clicked with really well. About 12ish we went back to her place for a one night stand-esque thing. Since being a new student that's all I really wanted. So, we're on the bed. I'd say about to start going at it, when I hear the door open, but we ignore it and I think it's one of her flatmates. Nope. This guy just walks in, looks about my age, and we just stop and stare at each other for what seemed like forever. You know, when I think of catching someone cheating, I would think they'd be super pissed off and angry, but nope. It was just a look of pure disappointment on his face. No words were said. I got up, put my shirt back on and said, "I'm so freaking sorry man," before just walking out. All the while he was just staring at her. I have honestly never felt so rotten and crap in my entire life. Hence why I don't do one night stands anymore. Don't know what's happening with the other person. I didn't know he was married. Hooked up interesting guy in a bar and went back to his place. Did the deed a few times and gratefully it wasn't worth hanging around for a next morning repeat, so I was getting dressed, blathering lame excuse about having an early, and when we heard the key in the door, he looked like he was going to crap himself and I ducked behind bathroom door until she was clear of the apartment door and I could GTFO. Finished putting my shirt and shoes on in the stairwell. I recently caught my wife cheating on me. Recently as in last week. I walked into my house with my daughter and my wife slammed the door to the room. I knew what was going on and I asked a friend to pick up my daughter so that I could confront my wife. She opened up the door after my daughter left. I just told her to get her stuff and to leave. The guy was someone who she had claimed was a really good friend of hers. He apologized to me and just walked out. Afterwards she rushed over to the friend's house and tried to grab our daughter and take off with her. It ended in a stalemate where she ended up just leaving. The aftermath this week so far has been worse, to be honest. She wants to be able to see her daughter, which is fine, but still also wants to be able to bring guys around our daughter at any time. Currently, I am moving out ASAP and packing my stuff as we speak and getting a lawyer to try and get some sort of solid custody. I'm not a lawyer, but I've heard lawyers give the advice: don't move out, make them leave. Talk to a lawyer before you make any moves. Gonna sum this thread up. Men tells the story of how they cheated. Men tells the story of how women cheated on them. Well, I was in a roughly over 2-year long distance relationship. We were 2 states away and have been friends for about 1/2 years. I went up to visit her when I could, and she did the same, coming to visit me. Well, the last time she came down, March of 2013, we went over to a friend of mine's house to hang out. I got called into work, which was only a few houses down. I said I would be back in a little while and headed out. My boss told me to not worry about it today and I could just go on home. So I did. I was gone for maybe 20-25 minutes at most. I got back to my friend's house and all was well. Now me and her ended up breaking up a few months later because she felt she was not in love with me anymore. It was hard, but we stayed close friends and she ended up falling for a new guy and such, which made it more difficult. Found out in January from a good friend of mine that she was told by our mutual friend that when she came down she gave my friend a BJ. I confronted her about it and all she did was deny and say it is bulls and that he was just wanting to make her look bad or something. I confronted him and he admitted it. I cut him out of my life, and when I told her what he said, she finally gave in to telling the truth. I cut her out as well. Have not heard anything from him since and have heard little from her, though she still tries from time to time to be my friend. Anyways, so now I have trust issues, but I am a lot better now than I was a few months ago, so there is that, I guess. Found out from my GF, now ex, that her friend, let's call her Firecrotch, was cheating on my best friend at the time. After my ex accidentally spilled the beans, you could tell she regretted it immediately. She forbid me from telling my friend because it wasn't my business, which went over like a lead balloon. I called Firecrotch directly and told her that if she didn't come clean within the hour, I was going to call him and spill the beans. I don't remember anymore if she told him or if I had to go directly to him. He found out that day regardless. Long story short, they dated off and on for a while and eventually break up. I know my friend really had it bad for Firecrotch, but it just didn't work out in the end. She ended up cheating on him a couple more times. My GF was annoyed with me, Firecrotch hated me, and my friend and I have been and continue to be good friends. Bros. My mom and stepdad were best friends, did everything together. Then he began making new friends and hanging out with these new friends without her, which was odd because they had all mutual friends and hung out together. She went on a beach trip with a girlfriend and was struck by him constantly calling her to see what she was doing, aka when she was coming home. Then one day he told her he was going to get his hair cut, though it appeared to have a pretty fresh cut already. She came to my room, told me to not open the front door and that she would be right back. She followed him and watched as he walking into a restaurant with another woman. She said the only thing that stopped her from driving right over them was me. Anyway, super messy breakup, slashed tires, broken glasses, and I went to grandma's for about a month while everything was sorted and mom gained sanity. He stopped paying the mortgage, lost the house. Her new BF, which she acquired early and unhealthily, went through his computer and found that he is very much bi and very active in the gay freaking community. Everything worked out though. He ended up marrying our then next door neighbor who is cool with swinging and him butt freaking. Cool story. Their mom and ex-stepdad ended up being pretty cool with each other after the wounds healed and she wanted a glimpse into his new life. He took her to a theater and watched him sit on another man, and was slightly traumatized. I too visited that theater and was equally mortified. Lady Cheetah here. I am in a long distance relationship and just kissed another man on Tuesday. Total dong move, but I felt like I needed physical validation of my own self-worth. I got some crap to figure out. I've never cheated but I caught my ex cheating. Didn't catch her in the act but confronted her after the guy she was fricking and using H-word told me they were sleeping together. I remember I was watching Attack the Block on my computer as she slept on my bed. We woke up very early that day for the type 1 diabetes walk for the cure. I'm diabetic and it's always a really important day for me every year. I got the text from the guy she was sleeping with while we were doing the walk. I didn't confront her there because I was also with my family. I could barely focus on the film I was watching. I was shaking and on the verge of tears, completely unsure how to approach the situation. I'd never had to deal with something like that. The film ends and I sit next to my sleeping girlfriend silently waiting for her to wake up. I felt like an eternity. I've never been so nervous in my life. She wakes up and smiles at me. She apologizes for falling asleep. I tell her it's okay. She notices something is wrong by the way I was speaking. I must have been as white as a ghost. I don't say a word. I just hand her my phone with the text message that I received. Her face completely changes. She goes white as well. All she can say is I'm sorry. I nod my head and start to cry. She tries to explain but I tell her to get out of my house. She understands. I said something to her but I can't remember what it was. The moment she leaves I cancel my plans for the family dinner we were supposed to attend. I go to the liquor store and buy some vodka and beer. I call a friend and get drunk with him. We meet another friend and start drink more. I just drank for a very long while. I drunkenly call my girlfriend and say some things that I don't remember. Probably some pleading. Somehow could you do this and some mean things. So I don't talk to her for a while. She eventually goes to rehab to get sober and we get back together. We have 2 years of a great relationship after that. Really wonderful time where we are honest with each other and she grows as a person. Eventually she broke up with me because she wanted to be more independent. That was about a year ago. We still love each other and started hanging out again. In fact, she slept in my bed a couple of nights ago. Nothing happened, but we woke up together and talked all morning. It was great. I've never had a connection with a girl like I do with her. She is still sober. I guess I understood that there is no sanity when someone is using H. It is just chaos and dishonesty. It allowed me to see the cheating as a result of her drug addiction. The relationship was pretty fricked while she was using anyways. Afterwards, as she grew while sober, things were great. It was night and day. Sorry, I know this question was directed towards cheaters, but I thought I'd share my story. You should watch Attack the Block again. It's pretty cool. I was a notorious cheater during my younger years, like, absurdly prolific in my urges. I cheated on most girls I dated during my 20s. Why, you ask? I pondered that many a time and I have come to a conclusion. I was full of myself. I felt I was God's gift to be everywhere. I was good looking, in great shape, and got attention from women everywhere I went. You see, I never thought of myself as good looking, or a ladies' man when I was younger. I was shy, introverted, and couldn't wrap my head around women and dating, or even how to get either. But somehow I would get the attention from women, rather easily with little effort. The more it happened, the easier it got. I kept my relationships light. I never let myself get too attached to any one woman. Let's not get into my past, which it relates to ATM. Just know it stems from that. This only changed after I got caught by my ex-GF. You see, I was what I now know as very much in love with her, but I was so set in my ways, and could only think with my other head that led to me losing her. I was crushed and devastated when I lost her. I was very depressed for half a year afterwards, and really started to think about who I was and what I became. About a year or so after our breakup, I met who now is my wife. I'm proud to say I have turned my life around and changed for the better. I only wish I could have been a better person sooner, but I would not have the beautiful wife and daughter I have now if it wasn't for my life's path. So in a strange way, I'm both thankful and regretful. Feels good. Glad I could share this with you anonymous readers. So I got caught cheating with a woman from work back in 1998. She was around 40 years younger than me and it created an insane amount of issues for me. I denied it first, saying it again and again to everyone. I did not have physical relations with that woman, but I wasn't aware that she had held onto a dress that had certain incriminating evidence on it. At the time I had a high pressure job, and when it came out, the guys I worked with at the time created a whole scene and tried to have me fired. But I managed to dodge that bullet. The worst thing for me is that everything that I or my wife ever do will be tarnished by my actions. Plus the girl is refusing to drop it. TLDR. Don't cheat at work. It wasn't me but my girlfriend. But frick it. My girlfriend was throwing a party and we were already kind of fighting. It wasn't anything big. I beat her in a game of BP and she was butthurt. I went outside and was helping out a friend who was throwing up. I came back and couldn't find her anywhere. I finally looked in her room. We weren't living together. And I see her doing it doggy style with some frick bag. He gets up, looks at me, and sprints out butt naked. She looks at me and told me I swear it was just anal. I looked at her and just left. Never to talk to her again. Not living with her made it pretty easy and she didn't even apologize for any of it. I later found out she made out with 2 other guys. I cheated on my ex-wife twice before we were married. First time was a drunken threesome where she passed out drunk and the other girl and I continued. I felt guilty and told her a week later. Was tense for a few days but she forgave me. The second time was a lot worse since it was with her cousin. Ex and I were going through a bad time and I was close to leaving. The 3 of us went out to a bar together and got really drunk. The cousin had been flirting with me for quite some time and the 3 of us fell asleep in our bed. When I woke up, the cousin was gone and I got a text from her saying her BF was gone and to sneak over and frick her. I did. Guilt got the better of me and I wanted the relationship to end, so I told her after a few weeks. Huge fight ensued and she attacked me. I let her. I was about 6 foot, 205 at the time and trained MMA, so being hit doesn't bother me too much. She then tried to attack my groin, so I restrained her. She left the next day, but after a few days we decided to try and work it out for our daughter's sake. We did move though, so we no longer lived next door to said cousin. Extra dong head points. After her and I split, the cousin and I started sleeping together again. In early college I was dating a girl for about a year. The relationship was generally unhealthy. She was very demanding, and I was only interested in one thing. About 3 months in, she gets on my computer and finds some stuff that I posted on an adult forum. Yep, I'm an idiot. Then she asks me if there was anything else. Never one to lie. I fessed up and said that a girl I knew had sent me some pictures of herself because I asked for them. Needless to say, my GF flipped, smashing pictures, throwing things, screaming, crying for like 10 hours straight. She was 18 and I was 19. We really did try to make it work for the better part of 14 months, but it never did. From that point on, no matter how much of my internet life I deleted, and how faithful I was, and I was 100% faithful to her from that point, in every way imaginable, including giving up any female friend I'd ever had, she couldn't trust me. Eventually, after one of a million fights and me convincing her I was to be trusted and had nothing to hide, I broke up with her. I knew I'd changed, but she couldn't see it, and that relationship only got worse after she tried to commit suicide and refused to take medication for a number of emotional issues she had. I'm a scumbag, and I know that, but I never physically cheated on her. In fact, I never emotionally cheated on her. I never liked the other girl. I just saw boobs. That's about it, and that's probably what makes it the worst of all. It was stupid, without reason. Lucky for me, this was over a decade ago, and I'm a different person now. And honestly, that whole debacle taught me a lot about myself. And while I'm sorry for hurting her, she had her own issues that, with me as her codependent, she'd never have sorted out herself. I hope she's doing well now, but we both hurt each other in greater ways than any other relationship I've been in. We tried to make amends years later, but it was like pulling teeth, so we kinda just stopped talking. Haven't talked to her in at least 8 years. I was with my missus for 3 years. Soon as she turned 18, got a car and went to college, I found out she was meeting up with a guy and had fricked on the back seat. I found out as the man in question posted it to Facebook. He should have made it even easier and tagged you in the post. Well, I was dating this girl I worked with, my manager at a pizza chain, and started fooling around with another girl at work who was new and didn't know I was dating the one girl since I never brought my relationship to work. I don't know how, but this went on for a few weeks before they found out. I have no idea how I thought I could pull this off for a long time. I mean, they worked together, how dumb was I anyways? One night at a friend's party I invited the girl I was just fooling around with. She accepted the invitation. Upon her arriving, she walked into the room I was in and I just yelled baby, and as I go to put my arm around her, my girlfriend at the time follows her in the room and I just scream oh crap and try to turn the other way like she wouldn't see me or something, lol. Needless to say, I was caught. Ended up talking with those two girls that night and ended up with the same GF. We dated for a year after that and broke up cause I didn't want a long distance relationship anymore. She went to school 2.5 hours away. We got intense quickly. Exclusive W in weeks. I noticed suspicious phone covering, etc. A couple months in. Funny, I hoped going through her phone would give me peace of mind. What I found was no laws broken, but all of them bent. It made me crazy. For example, she possibly slept with someone else during those intense, technically non-exclusive, weeks. Lied to suitors about having a BF but made lame excuses not to meet them. I separately found out she did pee and confronted her. Not a moral problem for me, but my guard was up. Notwithstanding her, I would have told you. I lived a dual life, loving our amazing days, but surveilling her at night. My distrust was well placed. I caught her setting up a secret meetup with an ex, called her out, and she gave me the privacy routine. We had a short-lived breakup. She came to me with an emotional apology. I took her back, then slept with someone a bit. Partially BC, she was kinkier and more fun. Partially just out of pride. Never caught. I gave her an STD, but it's okay, we were both S and cheated on each other multiple times. Who knew lying to her and saying who have you been with would work? In the end we both knew. It's still a pretty crappy situation. One day for our geometry test, our teacher randomly decided to go around and check calculators. To my dismay, I had entered many of the formulas into my calculator and he found them. He confiscated my calculator and made me use his while he erased my notes. Come the next test and he makes a point to check my calculator. By this time I had created a text filed with such titles as cheats and answers and completely filled them in with witty remarks about the teacher and the class. He got a good chuckle out of it and we went on about our test. That was a point where I could have been severely punished by the administration for cheating, and instead the teacher handled it in a much smoother and, I think, appropriate manner. I just caught my wife having an affair 2 hours ago. She's going out of town tomorrow. We will figure it out when she gets back. So I guess my response is that I don't know yet. That's real tough, bud. I feel bad. I hope you feel better and have a positive look during tough emotional times. I have never cheated, but I guess this would be the place to say. Being cheated on was one of the most traumatic things anyone has ever done to me. It was my fiancée. It was a hickey on her neck. It was 5 years. Down the drain. I trusted her like no other person in my life. That being said, I'm sure there are some decent individuals out there who would not dream of cheating on their so. I cheated once, and it still gets to me to this day. I was fresh out of high school, and my ex was too. We started fooling around senior year, and ended up falling for each other. Hard. I had never been attractive, but my senior year I kind of bloomed into myself. My ex was hot to me, but he was lanky, had braces, and horrible acne, but his wonderful, sweet personality is what attracted me to him. I loved him, truly. He was my first love. He decided to go to college in company. Fast forward 3 months. He's up at college and I'm here, working 50 hours a week and going to school to pass the time. He asked me go move up to be with him, and I was determined. We would fly back and forth to see one another, but the relationship was tough. He began to talk to me less. He would go to insane parties and ignoring my calls. One day, over he called me. I was ecstatic, only to hear him say, "I am not sure about us." Now, I had been working my butt off to save up to move. I dropped out of school, stopped seeing my friends, and was just overall exhausted. I was distraught. I went to work that night and my co-worker and friend, who was about 29 and I was 18, let's call him Frank, offered to buy me drinks and smoke some shisha, and watch foreign movies. We both speak German. Long story short, I got drunk and ended up letting Frank go down on me. It was great. He was attentive and I felt needed. Afterwards I drunkenly cried about loving my ex and begging him to take me home. I had foregone telling my ex, thinking it was nothing. I loved him and it was no big deal. Things were rocky with my ex. We didn't talk much and, when we did, it was mostly fighting. About 2 months later, my ex rings me up and tells me he cheated on me. Through tears and hiccups he begged me to forgive him, but I broke it off. I was relieved because I could project all my pain and confusion onto his wrongdoing. I wasn't the bad guy, he was. He did me wrong and my actions were justified. I told everyone was a freaking butthole he was and played the victim, when I pretty much did the same thing. He still doesn't know, but it's been 3 years and we haven't talked. It still makes me sick to my stomach when I think about it, but I'm never quite certain that telling him after all this time would be cathartic or if it would be devastating. Sorry for typos, I'm on my phone. Cheated on a wonderful girl. I wish I could say it was in the heat of the moment, as though that would make it any less reprehensible. Unfortunately, I had selfishly planned it out, totally premeditated. Turned out the chick who I cheated with was crazy, and guess what? I am too. It freaking sucks every day knowing what I did. It was probably one of the biggest frick ups of my life and I feel bad about it to this day. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video.